I could be anything for you, I would be your cure. I'd pour light into your wounds to soak their poison into the potions of love, into the golden and smoldering potions of love.
So help has arrived. We're very
And
grateful.
as their darkness drained, I would tear apart your cage, remolding the bars that held you into your destined wings, into your destined wings, flying above us all in your destined wings.
Absolutely gorgeous. We were the only people parked.
If from your flight you returned, I would have sewn a blanket for you, cut fresh from the curative fabric of spring. But hopefully you'd fly off to that destination you were born with, the one they try to steal from your soul. That destination you were born with, the one they try to steal from your soul. If I could be anything for you,
I'd like to say a huge thank you to
I
everyone
would be your cure.
who's come out and supported Michael and Cafe Lockdown to continue doing good.
If I could be anything for you, I would be your cure. I would tear apart your cage, remolding the bars that held you into your destined wings, your destined wings, your destined wings, your destined wings. Fly, just fly. Realize all that is holding you down. The concepts. If I could be anything for you, if I could be anything, I would be your cure. I would be your cure. I would be your cure. If I could be anything for you, I would be your cure. I'd pour light into your wounds to soak their poison into the potions of love, into the golden and smoldering potions of love.
Okay. On this last 5 years, I've met lots and lots and lots of people. And but one really beautiful man I've met is an ex-reporter for the Sydney Morning Herald, which is John Stapleton. And it was John that came forward and said, you should put these essays you're writing into a book. So this is why Goodbye Road exists. Anyway, let's get him on. Here he is. Looking how young he looks and handsome and
Oh,
that
I
beautiful
wish.
smile.
I wish. Yes, it's a remarkable book. Congratulations. Goodbye Road.
Oh, thank you.
Australia's Broken Heartlands. Can you hear me all right?
Yeah, perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect. And you've been in before we get there, you've been living in Vietnam
I've been
for
away for 5 months, 4 months in
five
Vietnam and
months.
1 month in Nepal. So I just left Nepal just a few days before the revolution there, which they say was the
Wow.
first Z revolution, the one led by mobile phones. I first went to
Yeah,
Nepal 50 years ago, and it's remarkable the transformation, and it's mostly mobile phones. So, you know,
really.
50 years ago, there was basically intermittent electricity. People were shy, apart from the usual hustlers, and and now you'll get a woman will come up and say, "Oh, where are you from?" And oh, yes, there are 276,000 Nepalese in Australia, or whatever the figure is, and chat away to you. Whereas 50 years ago, everyone was too shy, and you didn't have the translation apps either. So it's really
Oh, so you're using a
transformed.
translation app to talk.
Not so much in Nepal, but because I was in tourist areas, but in Vietnam, where I wasn't in any tourist areas. Well, I was in a Vietnamese tourist area for a while, but basically no foreigners. They've really transformed traveling. You can have really incredibly complex conversations with people. Sorry about the dogs. Shut up. But somebody must have walked by on the street or something. Yeah, you can have really complex conversations with people, and which you could never do in
With
the
the
old
app.
days. You know,
You're saying with the app, so you can have a
yeah, you
complex
just have a
conversation
Google
with
Translate
someone.
app, and there's new apps which are apparently even better.
Okay,
But
cool.
just the Google Translate app is great. They all use it. They're all very tech savvy, and
Wow.
and they're all talking to you, and it translates instantly, and all that sort of thing. Yeah, amazing. It's just yeah, you can have really complex conversations, whereas before it was all just
Yeah,
smiling,
broken English.
and
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
you
Hello,
know,
hello.
drinking whiskey in the street or whatever to prove you're a friendly sort of person or whatever. And now it's really transformed traveling. It's interesting and really
So what's
transformed
the difference?
them.
Oh, go ahead.
The boys are all really
Yeah.
stylishly dressed. The young men are all stylishly dressed and very savvy, and
Wow.
women are all very stylish and not shy. It's just like completely transformed the whole society, I reckon,
Wow.
and they're well
Wow. So
informed.
what is the difference between say Vietnam and
All right,
Australia?
Vietnam.
Now you're back here.
Yeah, I was talking about Nepal then, but
Oh, sorry,
Vietnam.
Nepal then.
Oh, well, that was Nepal, but that's just a different story. Vietnam is well, the West hasn't got to Vietnam in so many ways. It's so interesting. It's like absolutely booming. I was in Saigon for a lot of the time, and then I was in a tourist area called Vung Tau, which is now officially part of Saigon, but it's on the coast. And it's where all the Vietnamese go. They go down from Saigon to Vung Tau on the weekend or something, and the whole place
Yeah.
is just booming. You can land in a working class area in Saigon where there's no tourists, no 5-star hotels, no touts trying to sell you back scratches or whatever, and there's a business at the base of basically every house. There's restaurants, there's bars, there's cafes. The local school, where at one point where I was staying in Saigon, they'll all line up along the side of the road and be selling breakfast or exercise books or pens or whatever, all along each side on the road to school. They're all there for 2 or 3 hours selling stuff. Gone. And someone was explaining to me, I don't understand it exactly, but it's partly the land tenure. When you buy a house, it's yours and your family's for life, so there isn't the same enormous pressure on everybody, the same mortgages rates, which are just killing people in Australia.
Yeah.
Imagine a mortgage and kids and dismal job, and life in Australia is turning into hell for a lot of people that I can see.
Yeah, it is. Absolutely. You see it in the people. You see it town after town. Their faces are downtrodden. They are not happy.
No, they're not happy. And that's something I really noticed. They call this the age of loneliness in the West, which it essentially is.
Wow.
But over there, they're not lonely and they're not unhappy. They, very strong on families, very strong on communities, very proud to be Vietnamese. There's flags flying everywhere, of course. And it's not so much a sign of oppression as of communal pride that I could see.
Yeah.
The amount of business that's going on, you can land in any remote place. Here you'd have to walk to, a couple of k's to the shops, basically. But there's any normal back street, when the house hits the ground, there's a business there, selling photocopying or nails or a barber or
anything they can.
The coffee, the street cafe I'd go to every morning, where they sit up for 3 hours or something every morning, there'd be a lady just selling corn cobs next to me. And I watched it for a few days and thought, how the hell can you make a living out of selling those ordinary-looking corn cobs? Sure enough, people would come by and buy them every day, and she was happy as Larry. Everyone's happy as Larry. They are much highly. They've always been very industrious and productive, but it really struck me. Then I ended up. That was after spending a couple of months in Saigon. I ended up in Vung Tau, which is the it's almost like a honeymoon area for Vietnamese, and you see all the blokes strutting around being blokes. They're all slim. That's another thing you notice. You almost never see an obese Vietnamese. They've got a really healthy diet, and they're very rarely do you see a fat one, like almost never. And so the men are men and the women are gorgeous, basically. They sell these frilly sort of dresses in the tourist shops. And the girls will dress up in these really frilly dresses, like sexy dresses, and, deliberately. And it's very traditional. And they've not all of them, but you see a lot of them, they're like 20 and they've got 2 or 3 kids trailing after them. They've all had kids.
Wow.
They all have families young. And then, of course, all the grandparents are involved and everybody's involved. I've never seen it anywhere in the world, I don't think, a better behaved bunch of children. It's just like they're all little angels. There was only one time in the whole time I was there where there was some kid carrying on the street. You see them in the supermarkets. Everybody. And there was one time this kid was just like you would have thought he was being beaten to death. He was wailing on so much. And eventually someone explained to me that, he's just had 10 snakes in a row and his mother won't give him any more. And he was just carrying on, screaming.
So he's full of sugar.
Yeah, he's full of sugar, and she was ignoring him. But that stood out simply because it was so unusual. It was.
That's really interesting mirror to hold up to our country, isn't it? Because we look to these developing countries going, oh, how do you survive, you poor thing? And yet we're the ones that are actually struggling now. And I think also when you talk about happiness, there's a deep soul depression in Australia. You know what I mean? I actually feel a lot of the people out there working like crazy actually feel they're working meaningless jobs, which equates to feeling like they're having a meaningless life. And that's what Matthias Desmond said before COVID. There was a study of America, and 80% of Americans said their lives are meaningless. And they were just paying bills, doing this, meaningless. And this has to permeate throughout society. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Worthless jobs, worthless. Well, and you don't feel like you have any part in the country. Like,
no,
you don't. No. The powers that be aren't the slightest bit interested in what people think, as we discovered during COVID, or if they bothered to ask anybody what they thought about all the sort of totem issues of the day, climate change being a classic, racism, gender politics. They don't listen to anybody. If they listen to...
They dismiss it.
Do they listen to anybody about family law, for example? Of course not. They listen to their own bureaucrats. They listen to their own Look at this social media ban. I mean, my God. When does it start? Tomorrow or the next day or something?
It starts on Wednesday.
Wednesday.
What's really interesting about that is all day I've set up Proton Mail. Now I've got a Proton Mail. We'll be going. We won't. It won't as soon as cafe locked out. As soon as we can't get onto what do you call it? If Facebook, we turn up Facebook, it suddenly says you need to verify your age or ID. I'm not going on it. That's it. I'll leave Facebook up, but I'm not going on it. I'll just move to the Rumble or whichever site allows me to post, but I'm not going to comply to digital ID. And I think this is like what happened with COVID. In COVID, they said you either take the jab or you're out of society. And now they haven't said it like that. They're going, it's voluntary. But what they're actually saying is, well, we're going this way, and if you're not a part, you're out of society. And that's what actually, and I think Australians, I just wish they would. I did a big rant about it today. Would actually go, F you. We didn't ask for this. You can't. I mean, you're going to put all our information together. You're constantly getting hacked anyway, so you can't keep anything safe. It doesn't solve any problem. And the thing that you're saying, you're protecting the kids, they've never given a flying fuck about the kids. The kids have been able to access porn on iPhones and Android phones for the last 20 years or however long it's been. They don't care. They don't care about the kids. And now they're pontificating like they do. It's bullshit. It's bullshit. It's just about more control.
Yeah, mind-blowing. It's mind-blowing that they've got away with it too. I mean, there's been...
Get away with it because the country's broken. The people are broken. They do, like when you said then, all the flying the flag everywhere. Flying the flag in Australia can get you in trouble with the council. It's almost a racist act to fly your own flag. You know?
Yeah, we're following Britain and all that, aren't we? Look,
That's right.
They've got 12,000 people being arrested every year for social media posts. Like, did you see that one the other day that was highlighted, you know, with Tucker and Piers Morgan? And some woman in England had been arrested for her boyfriend, according to her, bashed her. She went to some mate of hers, a fucking faggot or whatever, you know, the fucking faggot bashed me or whatever she said. And so then Tucker gets on British TV going, faggot, 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 saying, come and arrest me. Like, you know, how can you be arrested for a word, you know? Yeah. And it was just, I just thought it was, 12,000 people a year. So are we doing the exact same thing?
In a bath.
Hmm?
Did you hear that?
What?
On Piers Morgan interviewed an English woman who was having a bath when the police burst into a house, broke the door, came upstairs, came into the bathroom, men and women cops. The men were refusing to leave until she got out. She finally got the men to get out, and the woman got out, and she had to get dressed. And she's going, what's this about? A Facebook post.
Yeah. I mean, unbelievable. Unbelievable.
Yeah. Why are the cops doing it? How do the cops go home at night going, I did really well today. You know, I passed a murderer and there was some Pakistanis raping some girl, but I didn't look that because Grandma Moses down there had actually put up a sign going, you know, I only think women can give birth. And we got her and we've thrown her in the clink for 2 years. Now we got a safe society. Now I'm a real police officer doing a really good job. How the fuck do they live with themselves? I don't get it. I really don't.
Yeah.
It is, man.
And
it's living in crazy land.
It's because the whole reality
it's coming here.
Yeah, watch this. It's created, you know, a lot of it is created or was created by the mainstream media. So people had this notion of what the country was, and a lot of it was media derived. People still believe the ABC. You know, people still think of it as a credible news source, not as a propaganda wing. It's the propaganda wing of the government, and people still regard it as credible. I mean, I was laughing with someone I used to work with at News Limited about the government propping up all the various positions, and we were laughing about the supplements in the Australian, which nobody ever reads. Nobody's ever even noticed it there, and they're all funded by the Defence Department. And we were laughing about how you could have this whole media outlet, but funded by the government in that manner, and but God forbid you should disagree about vaccines or climate change or social media censorship or anything else.
There's a man now. $95,000 fine for a woman who called a man because he believed he was a woman. She called him man. She's copped a $95,000 fine
Where's that? Here
in Australia. Yeah.
in
I just want to
Australia.
show you this. Yeah, I just want to show you this because
You're
what's
kidding.
happening in England is coming here. Watch this. Watch this.
Australian Federal Police, and they said that anyone that is viewed in Australia to be eroding social fabric
That's the word.
will be held accountable.
Yeah, so if you said do civil non-compliance, you are charged with eroding.
Eroding social fabric is so vague
Yeah.
because it's subjective to their interpretation as to what is interrupting what they think is a wonderful society. It's up to them. They've put those words in place. The Australian Federal Police are using a vague term to be able to basically
do what they want.
So you eroding social coherence, Michael? Have you been doing a good job of it?
I just happen to have a book that is cementing my place and eroding the fabric. Can we first, before we go on, what we've done is I want to thank you because I never thought of putting the essays together. I used to like writing them, and we got a few hits.
I thought it was obvious
so
from really early on. They were really striking because you write well, and were doing something that no other citizen journalist and no other journalist had done in Australia, which has been around in the post and during the COVID era, and just wrote about it in a really vivid and very beautiful way.
Thank you, John.
You know, it was a great piece of work. So, I thought it was obvious right from the beginning.
I think it's because I got cancelled as a playwright. I just thought there's no chance. I'm a fringe dweller now. I'm an escape budgie. So,
well, it was interesting how it came about. Can you throw up the cover so people know what we're talking about? The book.
Yeah. That's it.
Yeah. Go, it's cool.
I wrote, and we had a bit of thing about the front.
Yeah, it's broken
but that was Australia landed free as long as you do what you're told. Australia's broken heartlands, but that shot was taken moments before they shot Matt Lawson with a rubber bullet. The first time since Eureka Stockade, the police had shot protesters, and I had my back to the police. So you see the police on the back; they're all there in their. Look at that! Look at them. Masks and shields and Tupperware shields and those Nazi-looking helmets. And they're all there simply because we didn't want to take a vaccine. And so they shot Matt Lawson after. Oh, thanks, Forsh.
Did you explain who Matt Lawson was?
So Matt Lawson is just a guy. He's just a guy. I only know him from the movement. And I didn't know him at the time then. I was at the front line.
How old
was that?
How old was he?
Oh, he's younger than me. He's probably in his 40s. And beautiful guy. Yeah. Beautiful, caring, loving guy. And Rukshan was there too. This first time I saw Rukshan or even heard of Rukshan. He was streaming. I saw this, Sri Lankan guy streaming stuff. And this was the first time I've seen streaming. I didn't know what streaming was. And then I saw Rukshan get pepper sprayed. I got pepper sprayed. But I had my back to the police because even though they had weapons, I took it for granted that this was Australia. The police aren't going to shoot unarmed protesters who aren't burning or breaking windows or looting anything or turning over cars. They're not going to do that, and they did. There was sergeants behind them. They were going to the young man. Come on, you pussies! Come on, you pussies! They were trying to spruik the young man, I suppose is the word, to come in and attack this line of armed police officers in their Star Wars uniforms. And everyone was in shock, like, you're kidding. With people in the front line, I heard young men going, "We're your brothers. We're your brothers." And the cops did not care. And then Matt Lawson went forward with his arms up as if to say, "Look, let's calm down. Let's calm down." And he must have got between maybe a meter and a half away or 2 meters away from them. And they're not supposed to shoot that. They have to be 5 meters away and shoot it at the ground. They're not supposed to shoot that close, but they shot him from that distance. And they've damaged his spleen. And then he turned around because he was in shock, and they shot him in the back as well. and
He's
then
been
they
a lot of
pepper
time in
spray.
hospital.
Yeah, oh yeah, he was in a bad way, and he's still suffering, I think. And then they opened fire with pepper spray on everyone. They just let loose, and we never attacked them. They just attacked us, and yeah, it was extraordinary. So that was before the shrine, but that day, from that day on, I thought, no, I'm not complying to this. I got to fight this. We are 100% going the wrong direction. And it's very hard not to lose respect for those coppers. I think there's other coppers out there that don't want to participate and they're quitting, or they're probably going, we're not those, and they're not those men. But the ones who get into these Tupperware uniforms and with all their plastic and they walk around as though they're hot shit, they're a disgrace to the nation, and they're a disgrace to the history of the country. And that's how they'll be remembered.
A lot of police were very unhappy about what they were asked to do or obliged to do, like extreme. And
they shouldn't have done it. And look in England now, where they're arresting grandmothers. How I couldn't do it. If I was a cop, I'd go, I'm not arresting a grandmother because she did a Facebook post. You've
got a mortgage and kids at home, and your boss is telling you to do something. I mean, as a reporter, I've done things that I really would rather not have done.
Yeah, but you're a reporter. You've got no integrity.
Thanks.
Sorry, that was a joke. That was a joke. It's a joke.
Yeah, well, I just can't go. I can't do that. I'm morally opposed. You know, I'm not going to do that. You know,
but you're a reporter. It was different, though. You didn't have to shoot someone. You just had to report it. What's sad, though, John, when I say you've been a reporter for 30 years, that should be, that to me is like, wow. But the reporting in the last 5 years has been so disgraceful that saying you're a mainstream journalist now is losing its accolades. You know what I mean? It's like going, you know, that's really sad, you know?
Well, that's why all the independent media, such as yourself, is really taking off, you know? I've been mesmerised by the whole Candace Owens saga in America. It's just like, that's all independent media. That's all people just making a good living, by the looks of it.
Yeah, she is.
You know, on independent media. They're not on the traditional media. And the traditional media is all old people. So that revolution that you just got in Nepal from young people on their phones communicating with each other and ignoring the mainstream media, it'll be interesting to see how this social media ban goes with this lot here, you know?
Yeah. I think a lot of people are going to get angry. I feel once they have to log in constantly, to access anything from porn to their email or to even just to Google Maps. Every time they want to use Google Maps, so they've got to facially recognize who they are. They're going to lose it. They're going to get really angry with it. And so I hope we're reaching the end of their compliance, the border where they go.
I was talking to Brock about this the other day. You know.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And
I know you do.
I do. I love it. And it's just like, oh well, it's ridiculous. They'll those kids. What are you going to tell them to go and play hopscotch in the backyard? Are you? Those kids haven't seen the backyard since COVID, and they'll do this, and this. And work a way around it, and this is how they'll do it. Bang, bang, bang. Just told me exactly which app they would use to get past this app, and the government will declare it a great success, and we'll just all move on. You know? And that'll be the effect of it. Outburst's already calling it a great success because it's promoted the discussion about these issues with families, which is just bullshit. And lie. Well, I see it as a lie that this was family driven. That there was a great movement amongst families to bring in a social media ban to protect them from what exactly? They don't want to look at oldies, you know, having sex with porn. You know, they're more into each other. You know, like they don't want to. You know, they're not interested. How are you going to tell a 15-year-old girl she can't go on social media, for Christ's sake?
Yeah, that's right.
It's just like
that's right.
How are they going to do that? So, you know, it's interesting. And the whole East Safety Commissioner stuff is just...
she does my head in, man. I can't believe the country puts up with her. Here's this American who outwardly tells us, not voted in, what we're going to watch. You know.
Mm.
Now I'm just going to go here and bring something up because this is the other thing. So your company is called, and I've got it in the show notes, A Sense of Place Publishing. How long
Yeah.
have you had that, and how many books have you published now?
Oh, we've done about 15 all up, I think. It was a
Okay.
dream of mine as a teenager to, you know, I kept getting rejection strips, rejections as a 14, 12-year-old, whatever, sending off short stories to Reader's Digest and all those sort of things, you know, in the day, and kept getting rejection slips. And I had the dream when I was a kid to have a publishing company. And then when I retired from journalism, I said about, it was so complicated. I mean, I just wrote the stories and sent them off, and someone else did all the, you know, fiddle-assing around, the layout and the headline and fitting it to whatever size was necessary. You know, I just banged out the story and went home. But I was just trying to find the. Sorry, I wrote a couple of stories about the E-Safety Commissioner. So,
You did.
Yeah.
There's your website there, A Centre Place website. So this is the publishing company here. That's not it. That's a picture of mine. That's not John. And but I want to go here. Let's go up here. You look there. I look here. People, cafe look there. Here we go. And so while we're doing this, because I think not only has media changed, but publishing has changed. So we set up this. I just get that picture there because it suits it. But here it is, searching for dangerous writers. You know, in a world that silences dissidents with a swift cancel, questioning voices aren't just frowned upon; they're erased. Yet these rebels who shatter the status quo, forging a bolder, freer culture from the ashes of conformity. And so it goes on from there. There's a place where you can approach us. And down here, we've got my book. We've got this one by Paul Conlon, who's sick at the moment with the flu. You should have got vaccinated. Then there's 2 your books. We saw one the other day. But someone bought 3 books the other day. And so we've got another one here. So we've got to get a few more of yours on. But we're actually looking to market, help market, not publish, we're looking to help market books that have been written by our community because no one else is going to market them. And I know George Keswick has written a nursing
and we were talking about this the other day, and I think it's true. In this age where, so I'm just trying to find it. So I wish I could find it in a hurry.
Please, I
wish I could find this New Dawn stuff. Hang on. Hang on. Just one. Give me one.
Here's another one. Here's another one of yours. So this is Failure, Family Law Reform Australia.
Yeah.
And that's what's that woman's name? I interviewed her. Patina Arnett Arndt.
Patina Arndt. Oh, did you interview her?
Yeah.
Yeah, she's
I did.
Great. Yeah.
So she's got there, but so, and how did that book go? Because that's a huge issue.
A bit more, but I really put some work into it. Oh God, I can't find this bloody. I wrote 2 stories about Julia Inman Grant, and I'll be buggered if I can find them in a hurry, which is really annoying. Maybe they've been deliberately suppressed. What the fuck?
What was the what made you write that other book though about law, the family law book?
Well, like a lot of other people, I went through the system and I just couldn't believe it. It was just so outrageously bad. It was that, you know, I still say to this day, I've never met a more dishonest group of people in all my life. And I think it's still pretty damn true. And I've met some people, you know. It's just an outrageous system, and it just throws people who are in crisis at one of the worst times of their life, throw them into conflict with each other. And it's basically an asset stripping operation by the legal profession. It's worth, I don't know, one estimate's 13 billion. You can't get a precise fix on what it's worth, but it's worth billions of dollars to the legal profession. And the government just passes these insane laws. now you've got coercive control, so that's all in the mix as well. In Queensland, you can go to jail for up to 12 years for coercive control. Now, it doesn't even have to be an intimate partner. So if you're upset with your
What do you mean it doesn't have to be an intimate partner? You just like you got a work colleague,
a girlfriend, a sleeping lover, or whatever. You don't have to be bonking them, basically. Can be anyone associated with you. And so if your carer is coming in every day, and in the hands of lawyers, anything can happen. And in the court, so a carer is coming in to some old duck who really, is on taking too much medication and doesn't want to have a shower, and saying, "Darling, you really need to have a wash, and I'll wash you." And she argues it don't, and this goes on for weeks until she's a rank as, and say, "Darling, you really have to have a shower." She can then complain that this is coercive control. She's forcing me to have a shower, and away it goes. And then it's in the hand of the lawyers, and you could end up in jail for 12 years. I mean, the legislation is completely bonkers. Like, completely bonkers. Have you looked into the whole control? How did we get here? It's ultra...
No, how did we get through Parliament? It just, they race these things through, don't they?
Oh, yeah, nobody knows about half the stuff. You should see the Family Law Amendment Acts passed under this government, which are insanely hostile towards men, like ridiculously, totally out of control.
Yeah, I have heard that.
And there was no public discussion. It was bolded through with the Liberals don't want to be seen as anti-woman, so, it all just bowls straight through. It's just, I keep saying, where did all this come from? It comes from left-wing theory perpetrated in our institutions for the last 50 or 60 years, really, since the post-war era, certainly since the 60s and 70s. And they've all filtered into the institutions. They're all now in extremely high levels in bureaucracies. That's why the media is overwhelmingly, it's not. It's left. Sorry, because soft shoulder. It's all this.
But they believe it, don't they? They believe it. I saw Avi attacking some ABC journalists who'd been writing about Israel, and Avi was just giving it to him. And this guy, you can see he believes in what he does. So it's like there's two different realities: their reality and our reality. They think we're right nut jobs. You see it in the trolls attacking us. You people, your conspiracy theory cookers, whatever. And they don't debate. They don't argue. All they can do is call us names, and then say we're in a cult. And there doesn't seem to be, although I am seeing more and more people speaking out. So I think a lot of people are not seeing any point in continuing to support the bullshit of the narrative. Yeah. Anyway, the other thing too, this one by Paul, this is about digital ID, and this is a great read. That's been selling really well, coming up and stuff like this. So yeah, and goodbye. And so, yeah, I think I'm sort of been telling others out there, start writing, because AI can now go back through your social media feeds and rewrite, even in Substack, and rewrite your post without you knowing it, edit it like that way. So you can't trust it to be, but a book, they can't do that. They can't go to everyone who buys the book and re-edit it. So if you want to protect your view of history or whatever your story is, it's time to start writing, do 10 or 20,000 short books, and we'll see if we can market them. I think people would like reading short fiction of what people have been through, if it was a good read.
It's that old thing, that in this age of total surveillance, the safest way to transmit confidential information is an old-fashioned letter, or write it down on a bit of paper. Yeah. Yeah. Do you mind if I just loop back to the Julia Inman Grant thing? I wrote
I was just waiting for you to find it.
That kind of futuristic, well, I don't know. don't know how you describe it, but it's called The New Dawn, and it's a kind of the first one I wrote in September 2023. And it's basically, I'll just read the first few parts, but you get the drift. And then we'll go and take a look at the history of Julia Inman Grant, if you think, because she is at the centre of what this firestorm over censorship in Australia. And it is a firestorm. There's lots of stuff spewing out across X and everywhere else about it, and hasn't even hit yet. But the first one I wrote in 2023, when all this was kicking in and people were realising what was going to happen, I just wrote, what happens when the government itself becomes the country's greatest purveyor of misinformation, disinformation, gaslighters of their entire populations, and that same government is hell-bent on censoring the truth. That is exactly what has happened and is happening in Australia. Long known as the most illiberal of all Western democracies, as the greatest surveiller, manipulator and oppressor of its own population of any so-called democracy, Australia stepped straight off the cliff into a totalitarian abyss during the COVID era and made headlines around the world for all the wrong reasons. Without the right to freedom of assembly or freedom of speech in its constitution, and without a Bill of Rights, the despotic conduct of Australian governments has run out of control, accelerated first by the overreach of the terror response post-September 11 to 2001, and then by the heavy-handed government response to COVID panic beginning in early 2020, aided and abetted by a legacy media taken hostage by its funding sources. And on I go on that one. And the next one, which is the
That's
one
really good, by the way. Do you think with the AFP coming out with this, I mentioned this last night with Paul, the AFP are now basically coming after us, that it's like we're at the same point as when the USSR decided they had to build a wall to keep their people in because too many people are leaving. Because you went over to Asia, if we come back to it, lots of people are leaving. Do you think that's what's happening now? And she's like that basically they realize in order to continue with their ideology, they have to contain us, control us.
I kind of think it's like that. The Origins of Totalitarianism book, that it's a creeping process which it doesn't have one single leader or behind it, but it's inherent in humans, this drift towards totalitarianism, and that we're doing this drift into, which is, the control of every aspect of your life, which we're getting pretty damn close. I mean, there's a law about every damn thing here. I mean, just everything. And when you're drifting into arresting people for Facebook posts or for mouthing off on Facebook when you're, pissed off or whatever, that's very close to a totalitarian culture. And people, it's amazing that people accept it. Just amazing. Yeah.
What was the other bit you wrote? I want to come back to this, but what was the other bit you wrote about Imran Grant, whatever her name is?
Right. So she's got a very interesting history, originally appointed by Julia Inman Grant. We are the only country to be introducing a social media ban in the world because it's a terrible idea. And we are the only one to have a e-safety commissioner. And she was appointed by that great Prime Minister, Malcolm Turnbull, who appointed her. She she's very closely aligned with the World Economic Forum, like very closely, and worked for Bill Gates for 17, 18 years, whatever it is. I'll just run through a bit of the history, if you don't mind, because she's...
Sure. Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
I start off with a quote. Heaven's net is indeed vast, but although its meshes are wide, it misses nothing. And that's Lao Tzu, if I pronounce that right. And I go, the dead weight of the state everywhere is everywhere in the lives of Australian citizens, no more than in the media realm. Australia has long been a petri dish for American intelligence agencies, as COVID clearly demonstrated. The Pentagon was all over the so-called COVID panic. And then I go into her Julia Inman Grant, with her deeply entwined connections with Washington, including a stint as technology advisor in the US Congress, Australia's e-safety commissioner, one Julie Inman Grant, is a living embodiment of the so-called deep state, now frequently referred to as the blob, a mesh of government and private agencies aimed at controlling the public square. Ms. Grant is also closely connected to Bill Gates through her 17 years at Microsoft, including as government affairs manager, and worked at Twitter from 2014 to 2016, a time when the platform was little more than a public messaging board for the CIA, the FBI, and Homeland Security. She's also a participant in the World Economic Forum, where she is described as a, quote, agenda shifter, unquote. It is one of the darkest developments in Australian history that both sides of Australian politics, the Lib Lab Uni Party, are fully on board with having a WEF-aligned e-safety commissioner acting in essence as the nation's chief censor. Ms. Grant was appointed e-safety commissioner by former Goldman Sachs director and then Prime Minister Malcolm Turnbull in 2016, heading the world's first regulatory body committed to keeping its citizens safe online, quote unquote. There is a reason why Australia is the only country in the world to adopt an e-safety commissioner, because it's a very bad idea. Last October, and then I go into some of the history, she's issuing fines against X and so on and so forth. And away you go. I can send you those links if you like. And
yeah, no worries. I said today.
What's that?
I said today in a rant that basically pre-COVID, Australians' identity was based on, say, Crocodile Dundee, the Anzac Spirit, stuff like that. We were seen as a mob of robust larrikins, guys you could trust, rely upon. But they were larrikins. COVID showed us that majority of us were compliant, and we weren't the larrikins at all. In fact, we basically were willing to do whatever the government said. And then when it found out that COVID was a lie and suddenly that injected so many people against their will, instead of having a huge rage against that, we go silent, or we hate who the government tells us to hate the Muslims, hate the Palestinians, hate Israel, whoever the government's telling us to hate, they compliantly hate. And now here we are with digital ID. We know what it is. Anyone would know it's not for the kids. It's just so sus. And so now it's to see what Australians will do. And I think the whole world is watching. And people are saying to me, oh, it doesn't matter what we do, we're so small. But I think that's bullshit. I think the whole world is watching to see. If we just comply, then the big companies are going to go, this is great. We're going to roll this out across the world. We've got full control. But if we actually defy it, if 10, 20, 30, 40% more people go, no, we're not doing social media. Thank you very much. If you want our ID, go F yourself. It will stop. And the rest of the world will be singing the praises, going, look at these brave Australians. They staved off this totalitarian attack. This is where we are. It could define us as a nation either way. And at the moment, it's not looking good. But to me, I'm leaving. I'm like I said, if as soon as Facebook asks me for an ID, see you later. I'm not going to do it. I'll leave the page.
They asked me for an ID straight after I posted the link to an extract from your book, right? So I just thought it was some procedural thing. And when I've been through the procedure before, they just put me back on. And so I just pressed some buttons, and so they sort of scanned, and it didn't even scan properly. And bang, I was back in. So I think I've already been scanned. Facebook knows if you're pregnant before the woman does. They already know all this stuff. They know all this stuff about you.
So why do they need an ID if they know that much? Why do they need the ID? They already know it.
Crazy. It really is. Yeah,
and here we are. And amongst all this turmoil, all this destruction of the country we love, we're trying to set up a publishing company to sell books.
Yeah.
And music.
That was why your book was so damn important, because it was a story that wasn't being told anywhere else. I mean, the ABC is obviously government owned. The News Limited is obviously, propped up by government contracts. They were happy to go the lockdowns, but they certainly weren't happy to go the vaccines, because they're heavily invested in vaccines, the parent company. So, they're not going to do it. And, plus they don't want to lose their advertising. And
Yeah, that's right.
You know, Fairfax has been gutted as well. So there's no functioning mainstream media that's really going to go these issues. We injected millions and millions of Australian children with a poorly tested, in fact, counterproductive vaccine that extremely poorly tested, that experts around the world were already warning was unsafe. Now it's accepted that it's unsafe and it's being withdrawn from the market. But you already had really early on lots of people warning about this, that you can't develop a vaccine in 6 weeks. It's just not possible. That this is untested. It's never been tested properly, much less at scale.
It's coming out now. It's tested on animals, and all the animals died. And it came out just now. Kennedy's come out and said Pfizer knew months and months before that the vaccine didn't stop transmission, didn't stop it. So they knew it was a dud before they put it out. They just wanted to get it into people. And that's why no one, look, we all knew, they even knew, even our politicians said, the COVID can't hurt children. Children of no danger of being, they said they'd get a sniffle. So basically what we did in the year or 2 years before us, the Titanic goes down and the captain goes, quick, get the women and children in the lifeboat. We now inject our kids to protect nursing home residents on the edge of death as well. And we're basically going, F the kids, F the mothers and the kids, get the nursing home residents into the lifeboat. It doesn't make any sense. It goes against the natural law of humanity. It's madness, and there's so much infertility now. They did someone told me the other day they saw a study of young men. Their sperm count is literally collapsed. They've literally got nothing. Supposed to have thousands of sperm. I think some of these guys had like 20, and which is just how they're going to propagate. And then the women too. There was a young woman. A mother was talking to me about a young daughter. She's got fertility problems, and she was at some big party with all these young girls, and she decided to bring it up because she was so upset. All of them had fertility problems. They're not talking about it because they're embarrassed. This is it. It is the crime of crimes, and yet we just go around placidly like lobotomized Hindu cows as, oh well, what they do is next. And now they're bringing in digital ID. We actually calling Cafe Lockdown on the run now, because I don't want to be a part of this society. I'm sort of outrunning it, and all I interact with is people from our side, the dissidents. I meet them on the road everywhere. That's it, because it's, we've even got a map. The map's working, guys, now. If you go to cafelockdown.com, there's an interactive map there. It'll show you where you can find us if you want to come and have a chat. But and the stories are just insane.
Horrific. One story the other day, a woman goes to hospital and, with pregnancy complications. So she's in a whole ward full of people with pregnancy complications.
There you go.
Just like, mind blowing.
Yeah.
The whole thing.
And then other one too, there's that young lawyer. She's doing great work pushing about late-term abortions. She was talking the other day about Joanna Howe, about a nurse who said she came into a room and if the baby survives the abortion, they just leave it there to die in a bowl with a cover. And she lifted the cover back and the baby was still there, fully formed, and it can be up to 5 hours before this one died. They just leave it there to die. This is evil. And because it's born, this is the foundation of our community now. All that matters to a human being is making sure more human beings are coming to replace us. This is just survival of the species. Forget morality. And so here we are. Every baby born is a promise of a future. And we just discard them and leave them to die because they're unwanted. That is evil. We actually have a foundation of evil we're built upon. And we just go, how do we handle it? Oh, there's Aldi, Got to go to Aldi. It's just, there's a lot of rage and anger in me that people are just so willingly going down this path, and there's nothing there for them. They're just going into darkness. If you think how easy it goes, it's not the Yellow Brick Road, put it that way.
You're walking through a defeated population, so you're looking at a defeated population, and that's what about, and that's the subtitle, Australia's Broken Heartlands, which I like. And some of those
goodbye,
stories, some of those stories are just, they're just unbelievable, those stories that are in there. I like the one in particular about the guy living in the car park beneath the Prime Minister's, multi-million-dollar mansion.
Oh, David Livingstone.
That was a cracker. Yeah, just because, he's been there forever and, with the whole COVID drama.
Yeah, and he used to be an airline steward.
Yeah.
He was an airline steward. He flew around the world. He's got stories. That's David Livingstone, a great mate. And now he lives in car parks where he moves around so he doesn't get moved on. While Albanese, who's scared of climate change, lives in his oceanfront property. So he can watch it. He can watch it firsthand when the ocean comes in and washes David away and cleans out the car parks. The one that I found haunting myself was, I think I called it Heart of Darkness, about the woman we met in this lonely caravan park who is unvaccinated. All her kids are unvaccinated. She's against it, but she runs these childcare centers where people doing childcare at home, and she has to enforce the vaccine mandates on these children, otherwise she can't keep her business going. So she knows it's wrong, but there's so much money in it that she can't stop herself. It was extraordinary when she told me. She wouldn't do an interview, but she told me. And then you're sitting there going, that's the heart of darkness. What else is it?
Yeah, because she knew, and she was really haunted by it, you said. Like completely haunted.
Oh, yeah, she was haunted by it. I mean, I think she might get to a point, I'm only theorizing, where the money, no matter how much it is, she just can't take it. It's not enough. There has to be, maybe this is the lesson we're learning as a race. We've got all this wealth, all this abundance, but is it really wealth just to have bricked up space and big TVs? And like my favorite gadget I saw was we staying in one place. What's that?
Sorry. If you look at the behaviour of the media in that era, unbelievable. Yeah. Sorry, I missed what you were saying.
Yeah. Okay, I'll show you the media. The worst thing with the media was, I don't know if I have it here, but this was when I realized we don't have any media. No, I don't think I have it here. It was the picture. I'll see if I can find it. It was the picture of the armored vehicle. I've shown a lot of times. It's on the side of the bus. And I'd already been shot by a rubber bullet. And this thing was driving around just shooting people. And so once I'd got away from it, I came across a reporter doing a live, with a mainstream reporter doing a live, and behind them they could see this armored car shooting people, and I begged them to turn the camera around and film it. Begged them, begged and begged and begged and begged them, and they wouldn't do it. They would not do it. They just would not do it. And instead, and they were really upset. They could see it. They were really, really upset. But instead, they went home that night and they just called us a load of rednecks and Nazis and whatever you want. So they attacked us. And all we were doing was running for our lives. So, because we didn't know how far they were going to go. They had an armored car with weapons. I mean, it was just insane. It was something you should see in North Korea or maybe Romania when the revolution was on. But this is Melbourne, and all because we didn't want to take a vaccine. Oh, here it is. Got it. Coming up. Oh, it's the wrong one. And yeah, so it just...
So
I just don't understand it.
Well, not even a foreshadowing. It was a run of what we're going to see now. I mean, there were more than 4,000 Facebook posts were deleted, many of which were correct about these issues. They already knew the lockdowns didn't work. They knew these vaccines were highly suspicious, and they did it anyway. And I mean,
yes, that's right.
Billions of dollars, like billions of our taxes at our expense, and anyone. And the lie was just complete. I remember going to the convoy to Canberra and coming back, and nobody even knew that there had been a protest. That was the largest protest in Australian history.
Yeah, let's talk about...
Literally.
One of us said the wrong thing. No, but yeah, let's talk. Well, this is you were a Canberra, I was a Canberra. I didn't meet you there, but there we were, and this is, it's
Yeah,
what
and
what
I come back to this, admittedly fairly ordinary suburb, but nobody had even heard of it because it hadn't been on the nightly news, so it
That's
didn't
right.
exist. So that control, it's complete, and
Yeah, it is.
amazing level of manipulation of a population, and
Yeah.
yeah.
But why are the population putting up with it? That's the question that I can't get past. Why are
Most
they putting
people,
up with it?
most people are in their own little world, just going to work and looking after their family and keeping the bloody boss happy and running a business, which is pretty damn difficult these days. Or most
But
people are
that's
fully
also what they're
occupied.
doing in Vietnam. They're doing the same in Vietnam, and they're not tossing their culture under a bus. They're proud of being Vietnamese. You said, and yet they're doing the same, all looking after their little business inside of the building. Sorry, I
Oh,
got
look,
issues.
at any street scene in Vietnam, 99% of it or more would be illegal in Australia. You can't just set up on the side of the road and sell corn cobs in the morning and make enough to get through the day. You can't set up a coffee shop, on the pavement for 3 or 4 hours in the morning and make enough money to get by for the day. You can't open up a little shop at the base of your house. You can't walk around selling watermelons from the back of your truck. There'd be some legislation against it. People are out there, all sorts of food, all sorts of, literally watermelons because they grow 24, all year round in Vietnam. People are selling watermelons, cut up coconut, cut up anything. And this is not a tourist area, not at all. That's the society. The huge churn in money, huge amount of activity, and also a very high level of sophistication. I think it's just really, amazing and happy. That's what struck me. I was so surprised, and the behaviour of the kids that also really struck me. Is they're just
I wonder
such little
what's
angels.
the government like though there? Did you have much to do with the
It's a
government?
communist government. It's a communist government, and it's been the new leader is a former policeman, so there's been a bit of jibaja that he's making things stricter. But in contrast to Australia, it's incredibly liberal. I heard some talk that it's making more stricter, but the only way I saw it becoming stricter was in the tourist area. There's a strip there called Foreigner Street. It's quite a famous street amongst the Wobbegons. About you could walk down there at 3 a.m. in the morning and find and there'd be a bunch of hapless old men of a certain age, drunk as skunks, stoned, the place reek of dope, and all that's been cleaned up. There's none of that going on anymore.
I just want to show you that picture though. Just go back a bit. So I took this a moment before I got shot by one of them. Now, when I came across this reporter, they could see this. They could see this vehicle. There were 6 cars behind it. They could see these people with all these weapons attacking grandmothers, attacking people your age, shooting them. They could see it. This was before they shot us at the shrine. They could see all of that. And instead of reporting on it, she just sat there trembling, and the cameraman had tears in his eyes. And then they went home that day, and they went home that evening, and they attacked us and said we were the problem. And so that's when I realized I have to tell the stories. Well, that was the start of me doing this. And there was a story in there called Steps of Solace, where basically the people used to come and sit on the steps of Parliament when the mandates were coming out. They had no one would listen to them, not family, friends, work colleagues. And I wrote this piece saying there's these old women or mature women sitting on the steps of Parliament listening to these people who are turning up. And there's people turning up all day. So it was about 15, up to 15 women sitting there, and me as well, some guys. And we just talked to anyone who came. And so I called it the Steps of Solace, and I posted it in the morning, got on my motorbike, went down to the Parliament steps, sat there to do my volunteer duty for the day since I could do nothing else because it was cancelled. And this guy walks around the building. He's about 40 years old. He was tears in his eyes and he was all upset. And he looked and he said, "Is this the Steps of Solace?" And I thought, holy shit, that's a compliment. I just wrote that.
You read it.
It was a mountain. It was a mountain. I thought, wow, you know, but that was it was. This was people helping people that the government was just, and the government was calling these people who were helping people trash, basically dissidents, you know.
Oh, I know.
Yeah.
Australians did this to other Australians. That's what it was, a profound part of Australian history and the mythology that come about it, and it's been completely outside, not completely outside the mainstream media, but largely outside the mainstream media, and yeah, more or less completely. So it's created a kind of a counterculture, really, which you're a good example
Yeah,
of. It.
that's what we have now.
Yeah, it's amazing. So
Well,
people are
that's what we
talking
are.
to each other in a
The
completely
band
different way.
company is counterculture, you know.
Yeah. I like some of those stories. The scrub bull of Mildura, what happened to, all those noble things about the bush. But nobody did what you did. Just drive around the country and interview people who'd lost their jobs. There were people who, because they wouldn't get the jab, they couldn't pay the mortgage, so they lose their house. They become completely homeless. It was a whole huge movement. Which and now is continuing to be squashed by social media bans and ridiculous crap that comes out constantly. The whole country's going to be coated with wind farms in 5 minutes. It's bloody unbelievable.
It don't work, and we know they don't work.
Yeah,
Posting videos. There was some guy the other day. He said, "Look, the wind's howling, the trees were bending over," and he turned around and showed the turbines. They're all still. He goes, So everything's sus. That's the word, sus. Everything's sus at the moment. Like the gas we're giving away. We're giving it to Japan.
Yeah, how does that make sense?
We're giving it away. And then we buy it back. And then we wonder why the cost of living is so high. I mean...
It's insane. It's insane. Nobody feels a part of it. And it's a national hobby to basically, bash the politicians, I suppose, or nobody thinks much of them.
Look at Howard. When Howard was in power, bashing Howard was, you could not find anyone who would praise Howard. Everyone was bashing him, and yet he kept getting elected in. He became the longest reigning prime minister. That was how we sort of showed respect.
I was a single dad, right? And I had to take the kids out one morning to, I had to drag them along on early jobs, and there was an early job with John Howard coming back with a cricket team, which had just won something somewhere, and there's John Howard, and so the kids got his signature. I said, "Oh, you can get the signature of the Prime Minister," which we got his signature, because and so they took it to school, and the school wasn't the least bit impressed with their kids having a signature of John Howard.
That's funny. But but we still took the piss, and you didn't lose your job. If you were taking the piss at work, no one gave a shit. You're allowed to take the piss. Now you can't offend anybody. Even the Prime Minister now, Albo, doesn't like the memes going on about him.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I sometimes wonder why he posts to X, because there's a diatribe. People just pile on with them. The worst. No wonder he wants to stop it.
I do wonder. I also, the other thing too, and I've been meaning to play it, but I've been too busy. But I will go on to it. I interviewed one of your friends who was accused of murdering his parents, and
Dr.
and
Stephen,
do you want to tell us about that? And the book that do you have his book there? Because it's a really interesting book.
Yeah, I do actually. It's called Evil Conjectures, and there's a memorial for anyone who's in Sydney. There's a memorial tomorrow night at the El Rocco bar in the Cross, Brougham Street, the Cross. just near the train station there. And yeah, so there's a memorial from 6:30, if I've got that right, 6:30 to 9:30, I think. And so anyone that knew him, and yeah, hang on. Do you really want a copy of the book? You want me to?
No, I've got a
get
copy of the book, but you can hold it up. I don't know where mine is either. I'm in the bus. I'm not sure where it is.
Yeah, hold that. Or you say something interesting, so I'll hang on.
Something interesting.
Yeah.
There's anyway, so John told me about this guy, so I went to meet him. We did the interview, but he's just passed away. And Cal and I went to see him recently, and it was really sad to see him. He knew he was dying. His legs weren't working and stuff like this, but he had a real nobility about it. Here it is. So tell the story, John. This was a fascinating interview. Fascinating.
Right. No, I met Stephen in the 1970s when I used to work at Macquarie University Student Council, because I could always type 100 words a minute, it just always could. And
you lucky person.
so it was easy to get that sort of work in the student union. And he was the boyfriend, which was very daring back then, of the guy that ran the student council, whatever his title was. And so that was all very daring in the day, that they were a gay couple. They weren't cracking it. They weren't doing it for money. They were like together for love, which was all a bit of a novelty back then. Seems ridiculous, doesn't it, now, where it's,
Yeah.
Before it was compulsory, And so he was, he was quite the figure in the day then, and he was a nurse. And later on, I knew him just known him from then. And in London, he started working, and then he eventually transitioned to being a doctor. And
Right.
He took up some program where they turned nurses into doctors, and he became a really successful doctor. He was always a character, didn't suffer fools lightly, You got on with him famously, but he
I
can
love
just,
the guy.
yeah, but he
Yeah.
can just walk into a restaurant and piss everybody off because he just doesn't suffer fools, and he just could make
Yeah.
anybody bristle.
No, I got really well with him.
Yeah, okay. And so that was good to do that. Anyway, he was running a really successful. You want to hear this whole story, yeah?
Let's go. I mean, this is remarkable. I'll play the interview later, but this is what we're writing about. This thing's lost, but this was beautiful,
He was running a really successful practice up in the Central Coast. He was very good. He was always interested in end-of-life care, and running a hugely successful practice. And he was a gay guy, so he was very good with the old ducks, who just loved him, And he would, that's so interesting, darling. You had such an interesting life, darling. And he was just really good at that sort of stuff, just, that's fascinating, love. I mean, that's amazing. He sounds like such a lovely husband, or whatever. He just could smooth them like you wouldn't believe. So he had a queue a mile long, had a very successful practice, and do the nursing homes. You could do 40 people in an hour, sort of. They all loved him. And then he gets a call from the family, and his father's dying, and his brother had just died in Thailand, and he flies down to see his elderly parents, who are cresting 90, and he's the doctor, so in one of the families. So Papa dies. That's all fine. That was by the family doctor, and he was expected to go, and they'd stopped eating about 7 days before he got there or something, because they just decided they were going to go together, and the son had died, and it was all very traumatic. And then she's basically going into the death rattles a day or two later. I just want something like Daddy had, I just want some, they give him, what's it called again? Morphine, and I never get the name of that stuff right.
Fentanyl. No, not fentanyl. No, there is something else. Midazolam.
Yeah, it's an anti-anxiety thing, so it stops them panicking and just basically washes them out, the combination. And so he gave her some morph, and she died not many hours later, and she was already on her last legs, and she wanted to go, and they'd been childhood sweethearts. And so he goes back up to his successful practice and his vile boyfriend, and Tasmania being Tasmania, the gossip starts. They end up digging up the body, find morphine. He wasn't the family doctor, so it wasn't officially prescribed. Bang, they come up and arrest him on the Central Coast, drag him back to Tasmania, and he ends up in jail playing dominoes with Martin Bryant, you know.
I know. That's what he told me. He was playing checkers with Martin Bryant. And Martin Bryant, who's supposed to be a retard, kept winning. He said he couldn't beat him. He just constantly beat him. And he actually said, I said to him, did you think Martin did it? He said, yeah, I do think he did it. He was a nutcase. So that was really interesting. A lot of people in our community go, no, he couldn't have done it. But this guy actually spent a long time with him playing checkers. So who knows?
Who knows the truth of that story? I mean, I don't know.
I will play the interview again and with a link to the book. But maybe you should get the book on the Banned Book Company. And this is and at the moment it's just a way to market books. So if you've written, we can't publish it. We don't have the money for that. But you know, we can market it. If you've written something, you've self-published it, and it's just sitting in a box in your house going, how do I sell these books? Well, reach out to us. We think we've got a community that are aware that we have to preserve our history, our current history. We hold us for doing it, you know.
And if you do have money, we can publish, you know, one of the best cover designers and interior designers in the world. If you want.
Well, the other thing too is if you do have some money, John here is a great sub-editor, so he'll get it all edited. If he likes the book, he'll edit it, get it all set up correctly, and so you know it looks good. You know, it's got all the contents here, everything like this, and here we go. Yeah.
Yeah, it looks great. And, God,
thanks, man. Honestly, and that's it. So, you know, working together.
We were talking about that for years. I said, let's all make a great book one day, Michael. And then suddenly you end up in hospital having a heart attack. And I was just sitting here sort of between projects, really. And I thought, bloody better. He's going to die now. We better get this together.
It could be worth something.
No,
just signing on the contract.
I vaguely started sort of putting together things in the sort of a list of things that would work, but then it was suddenly a panic, you know, like, oh God, you know, this might be a very limited opportunity here. So pulled it all together, and then you had a go at it, and then I had another go at it, and even Grok had a part in it. So,
and here we are. Yeah, I actually I do all the writing, but I do Grok or some of these other AI things. They're great for going through and just fixing little grammatical.
So Grok was in love with bloody Florence, the bus, which just kept going on about, you know, because I'd done what I thought should be done, and you'd done what you thought I should be done, and I'm sitting in Vietnam going, what the heck? I can't work out what we get. So I just got Grok to examine both things, and then it explains to me what the differences between your version and my version are, and then I relax and go and then I edited it as best I could, and then I went through and did a final final edit. It's called a copy edit, and after any normal editing process, you do a copy edit, which is every last single comma or full stop or exclamation mark or whatever. It's just the final. So, it just picked up things that I never saw, you know. It's just
amazing.
And it gets really involved in the story and says, you know, and makes suggestions about Florence, really. It'll talk to you about, you know, what it likes and doesn't like about the book. It's just crazy. So
what didn't it like?
It particularly liked Florence, I know that, and some things it thought might, you know, need a little bit of tightening here and there. You know?
Yeah. You know, I never wants to go on the road with Florence.
Yeah, really, I thought Florence was a great sort of metaphor or something, like a great on the road thing. It was
now, because everybody, you go to a country town now, and no one wears T-shirts like freedom T-shirts or anything. Everyone's very conservative. Even outside, no one stands out. That we don't see any riding on cars. We do when they find us, but as a general rule, we don't see any riding on cars and stuff. And then so we won't turn up in this. If we turn up in this, it looks like we're afloat in a sovereign citizen parade, and there we are. Even it says free speech defense. I was in Balaclava and some kid goes free speech defense. Only a Nazi would have that on their bus. I thought, what? He didn't know I was in the bus. So I stuck my head out and go, could you please explain that to me? And he took off. Just took off. And then his mate, who he was working with, it must have been either his dad or some older, he came up and apologized. And I said, mate, we're going, and I just told him, what we're about. He got really upset, but he wouldn't say anything. There's just this silence, as if they think the silence will help. The silence is compliance. And if you talk to the Polish, the Romanians, anyone who's lived under, Stefan on here, Stefan, you'll back me up. Anyone on here who's lived under totalitarianism, they'll tell you, you cannot comply your way out of tyranny. You cannot do it. You just help them, Yeah.
Yeah, it's true.
And that's why I think I'm not going to do digital ID just for the sheer arrogance of it. So I'm going to have to survive somewhere on Rumble or this, or maybe I'll just start going town hall to town hall like Albie Mangles, and just turn up with my stories and my songs and the interviews I've done. And just that's how I'll end my days.
Yeah.
I'll find Florence on some remote bush road, just sitting there and two skeletons in it.
Very interesting to see how this social media ban goes. I mean, honestly, mind blowing, and all run. There was such a lie saying it's run, as a response of families have done what governments always do. They find some grieving family. Like remember the early closing in the Cross, which destroyed the entire central entertainment district of Sydney. That was all, which was all a play for real estate, because it's really valuable real estate there, and they wanted rid of the trashy night clubs and the coked out pros and all the rest of that, and the drunks on the street and the wayside chapel types hanging out and all that. So they just wanted rid of that because that land's worth an absolute fortune, and so some poor kid gets bashed to death at 6:30 in the evening or something. So they introduced this late night lockdown thing, which basically destroyed all the bars and clubs, and yeah, unbelievable. And they used that grieving family to perpetrate that policy against the wishes of everybody. And, nobody was demanding that the nightclubs of Sydney shut at 1:30 in the morning. Meant to be an international city, and you can't go out anywhere. I mean, it's just ridiculous.
Yeah,
and it's ridiculous. Insane.
Nanny states.
Yeah.
There's was one other thing I can't remember.
And Albus, anyway, with that poor grieving family, someone got bullied on social media, like toughen up, love. And
machete bin in Victoria.
The machete bin, I love that one.
The young guys are going around hitting each other with machete. What they do, they come up with machete bins that cost like $350,000 each. It's mad, man. It's mad. And this is a good thing to write about it. You should capture, because the mainstream media is not capturing it. Most major, we've lost the artists. We've lost the most writers are woke. We're losing them. No one's actually looking and writing what they're seeing, except there might be young people coming up. But it's a time now to basically explore, write, do something, but capture it this time, because your great-great-grandsons are going to want to know about this peculiar time where Australia died in a couple of years. 1 minute we were this identity, next minute we were a load of slaves, compliant slaves.
Yeah, I published that book, The Jackboots, by Robin Robbins. If have you seen that book? She didn't feel well enough to be interviewed by you, I remember. But she grandmother, she says the thing we lost during COVID was you didn't listen to the grandmothers. And so
no, that's right. Is she better now? Does she want to come on?
No, I was talking to her about it the other day because she's got a new book on surviving cancer, and but she's very frail. So no, she doesn't. I didn't mean to be tough on that.
Oh, I know the woman. You mean the woman in the Blue Mountain? The woman in the Blue Mountains who's passing away?
No, it's called the Jackboots. She's up your way.
No, but she lives. She's got cancer and she lives in the Blue Mountains, correct?
Not the Blue Mountains. She lives up north.
Oh, okay. All right. You know.
Yeah.
Oh well,
Yeah.
I'm in Casino, which is a really exciting name for a really quite boring town. And I go from there. So sorry to Casino. Actually, we're in the town. The op shops are really good. There's so that's it. Anyway, look, I'm probably staying on the road. I'm just trying to find a way to survive. We're not on the dollar or anything. We just survive off our wits. And so if you're out there and you have written a book that you're trying to promote, and it's about what's happening now, get in touch. You know, either John might actually, for a few bucks, John will make it, it will take you to the next level, put it that way. Or if you just want to push it as it is, go like that, publish it as it is. But I think this is what we have to do, and it could work because the few people that are coming, they're not just buying one book, they're buying a few books, and I think they're doing it out of defiance. They want to support. They want to support history, capturing history. They want to support literature, and this is what we have to do. We have to start capturing it now. We have to define ourselves.
People's stories because the mainstream media is not capturing ordinary stories. This is the way that can happen. And it's part of the culture. People's stories. There are lots of amazing stories in Australia, and completely.
Oh, there is.
But
a woman talked to us today. She got kicked off the council, but apparently she was working in a chemist in town, and they were hiding her. She was unvaccinated, and they allowed her to be unvaccinated, but they kept hiding her from those who are, basically trying to. So I don't know if she'll come back and talk to us. I don't think she will. But this is what we have, a chemist that's vaccinating people and children, even though they know the stuff is bad. And yet at the same time, the good part of them is concealing one of their staff members who's unvaccinated. Welcome to Australia. Before we go, this is something that I'm trying to talk to people, see they'll talk about. There's a lot of people in the community going, well, I'm leaving. I'm going bush. I'm getting my van and I'm doing what we're doing. We're going bush. One of the things you might find, if you're going to live on the road and you want to live in like we're doing, don't buy one of those vehicles with a tent on the roof because they'll see you and they'll know you're camping. You've got to find a vehicle that looks like it's just parked. You know what I mean? Don't have all camping. You just may keep it. Our thing scares them off. Because they think sovereign citizens probably going to shoot them. So our thing scares them off. And there's no guns, apart from there's no guns. There's nothing's going to shoot you, and there's no guns in here.
But if you've got that thing on the roof, they can move you on. Is that right?
Yeah. They'll move you on anyway. We get moved on in Sydney, but they will move you on. Everywhere you go now, they're looking to move you on constantly. They don't want people camping out. So you've got to be clever about it. But that's why this next piece I'm going to go out with, called Exodus, is saying there's a lot of Australians, I don't want society, so they think they can go bush, but I'm saying that the great outdoors is just a barbed wire fence. You keep driving down the highway, you see these beautiful hills, you think, I'd love to walk that, but it's all barbed wire. You see a river, it's all barbed wire. And so things aren't what you think they are. And the only way to know how they are is to actually go out and see it. And that's what I find interesting, And to me, Australia is a silent country now. It's a silent country. And I think people have been taught to be placid. Like they call up the Centrelink or any other government department. First thing they say is, if you're rude to us, we will hang up on you, or something like that, And then they make you wait for 2 friggin' hours. And then, but if you get any angry, so they're sort of beating the people down constantly. And you see it. People, what I'd love to go in a country town and see a young, fit, say 30-year-old man just striding down. Like, yeah, he's been working a hard day. He knows he's a pretty good looking thing, and he looks like he'd be a hell of a root. I'd like to see that. Instead, I just see these men walking around with their heads on this. They're just loping, and they just look like the fire's gone out. And I think that's really sad. Now I hear that a lot of young guys up to 25 have never even asked a woman out. You know what I mean? And you're thinking, this is where we fight back from, it's where we fight back from. It's, I think, yeah, I think it's time to remember that we're human beings and start celebrating the fact that it's pretty fucking good to be a human being, and we have a capacity for a lot of fun, and we're sick of the fear. So we should start partying, going, you want to cut us off the media? Fine. Notice we're going to go out and party instead. Anyway, I'm going to leave it there. Thank you for coming on, my man. I knew you weren't upset coming on, but you, as soon as the camera went on, you brightened up like a little light bulb, and you had a great conversation, brother. Great conversation. I loved it. And
yes.
Thanks, John. I really appreciate it.
Right.
I never thought I'd write again. After I got COVID, I never thought I'd write again. And I was just writing for myself just to keep Substack ticking over. So I'm quite humbled that you thought it was worthy enough to give it a crack. I really am.
Goodbye Road. Australia's broken heart. Yeah. Introduction by a certain John Stapleton. And
yeah, man.
And
people are crying. Introductions making them cry.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh God.
I can't read it. It's too good.
Yeah, it's been good. It's an amazing piece of work and a real important piece of Australian history. So yeah, congratulations. Great.
Thank you, brother.
Thanks for having me on. Nice to see you.
No worries. Take care. See you guys. This is Exodus, and I'll see you Wednesday night. Take care.
Okay. Ciao.
Chang bought a van and decked it out, showed us all had all he needed, could park it anywhere, free as a bird. But when he flew, he found out fast that the great outdoors is a barbed wire fence. I'm not staying here when the shit goes south, and the shit seems to be already here. I've a backpack with all my needs. Trouble is, when I dream, all I find is that the great outdoors is a barbed wire fence. I'm sure my grandfather left freedom here, unless my eyes were open when I was born. But this world has left me blind. Is that right? Mother, am I blind? I'm sure I smelled freedom once in the backwood forests of your eyes. Hide, you said, hide with me, or how else will we ever live free? There's an exodus heading out of town. Their faces are up, but their eyes are down. There's a sun that seems to be shining upside down, and around and around, upside is a barbed wire